We breached the $27 trillion debt level a couple of days ago. The Fed pumped out more than $9 trillion in bailouts since September. The stimulus could only hold off reality for a short period and is now starting to fade. That is wealth we don't have and never will. This house of cards is going down hard. The default is going to be horrific. Yet the market is again getting way ahead of itself, as pharma stocks go higher across the board. Gilead and Regeneron stocks are ripping higher on all the news that Trump was being pumped with their drugs. It's all a smart game to sell big pharma. It's all a con game. The stock market is not the economy. The middle class is the economy. And it is dying. Eventually the current lack of correlation between the economy and the markets will begin to close. And when that happens, look out. The road ahead for the US economy looks rockier now than it did in June, according to a survey of economists released Monday. While growth is expected to continue, a panel of 52 economists has lowered its forecast for the rate of growth for the last 3 months of this year, and for 2021, the National Association for Business Economists said. Economists cut their forecast for October to December growth to a 4.9% annual rate from their prior estimate June of a 6.8% rate. That was a total dream estimate. We are at the dead end of the road. Our only hope is a turnaround inspired by a huge reality check by dumbed-down masses. How do you grow without demand and when too many are unemployed? Answer: stay put till the nightmare ends. There will be little if no economic growth. We're in a deep recession that will morph into the Greatest Depression. Some states need multi-trillion-dollar bailouts. Hotels, restaurants, airlines, and the like will get utterly destroyed over the next few months. Commercial real estate, energy, and banks are next to collapse. Remind us how the real economy is in a V recovery, best V recovery ever. But you have to turn the V upside down. 2021 will bring many small cities down, and many businesses will be bankrupt. Meanwhile, the government wants to print another $5 trillion to give out with abandon. We are printing money just to survive, bad idea. We are basically charging everything on our kids' credit cards, which is what is fueling the stock run-up. This has been going on for more than a decade, and it is what has been propping up this fantabulous economy parade. Once sanity returns in January, the president will have little to no options and will ask the country for painful concessions. Millions of Americans may not be able to pay their rent in October. What to do if you're one of them at risk of eviction? To say the least, we are entering a downward spiral without demand for products, services. You should have been preparing, but if you haven't, it isn't too late. So secure your investments, only own survival sectors, consumer staples and utilities, since all others will no longer be safe. So, again, get real. What do you need to survive? You need food, water, shelter, and loyal friends to fend off intruders. No kidding. This time we are in serious trouble with a misguided, conflicted society. Will the survivors of this Ponzi scheme trust another fiat currency backed by nothing but useless government promises? Stock up and stay awake. Welcome back to the Atlantis Report. You are here for your daily dose of the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Please take a second to click the like button. And as you know, friends, I rely on your donations to keep this channel functional. As you know, it takes a crazy amount of research and time to bring you this content on a daily basis, so I hope you consider helping with whatever donation you can afford. Thank you. Mass layoffs continue, with this time Regal owner Cineworld to shut all theater screens. The world's second largest movie chain confirmed it would temporarily close its cinemas in the UK and the US, putting 45,000 jobs at risk. The latest bad news: add that to the 40,000 airline layoffs. There are millions if not billions of square feet of zombie retail right now. Theaters will be the cherry on top. Who wants to wear a mask the whole way through a stupid film? Movie theaters were a 20th century thing anyway. Everyone has a 70-inch flat screen at home these days. And Hollywood became a lot less about the art and all about the money over the last 50 years. All we get today is remake after remake and superhero after superhero. Hollywood got lazy and stopped taking risk with original content. Hollywood has become a big turn-off. They deserve to go broke. Who goes to movies anymore? A $15 popcorn that will break your teeth while there is a mask requirement. It's easier to watch it on our great big screens at home. Or wait for it to come on Netflix. They will go bankrupt soon, along with all of the airline, Boeing, and cruise lines, and many hotels and restaurants. Liquidity and solvency crisis in a pair. There's no reason many, if not most of these industries can survive and eventually return to black ink and hold a prosperous future when economic stability returns and economic growth returns strongly. Buckle up. Movies, tourism, conventions, cruises, and group travel will never return. By the time things are opened up, most people and the majority of companies will be utterly bankrupt. The entire hospitality and travel leisure section of the economy gutted. A noticeable amount of business failures locally, Pizza Hut, Subways, Burger Kings, etc. Good riddance and thanks, Rona. The empty storefronts, all of them. These places should have closed long ago. US businesses were long overdue for a heavy thinning. I go to chamber events. You wouldn't believe how many of these small businesses are keeping the doors open through debt, maxing out credit cards. Places are money burners, easy money keeps the doors open. Owners keep hanging in there thinking their business that has never made real money will someday. This coming winter, we can expect a recession of epic proportions. Watch what happens if the world goes into a second shutdown. Shut down the world for another 7 months, and we could really see some awesome economic activity. The V-shaped economic recovery is non-existent. The recovery is clearly and drastically slowing, and we're about to enter fall-winter, where many small businesses are likely to close for good after struggling with months of low traffic. I see that the markets are optimistic about more economic stimulus, but it doesn't seem likely that this will happen anytime soon, regardless of how optimistic they are. Unless the balance of wealth between capital and labor is corrected, the system will crash. The Fed has thrown trillions of dollars to bail out its owners on Wall Street, but Main Street USA can't get a few dollars in its pocket to buy some groceries thanks to internecine fighting in Congress. So goes America, so dies the grand old republic. Governments that redistribute wealth and regulate our daily lives are inherently corrupt. This is driven by a few greedy global power players. The ordinary person on the street just wants a fair reward for their inventions, honest work, and thrift. Money is key to that aim, and whether it be the euro, the British pound, or now the US dollar, as soon as that money becomes corrupted, so does the society that relies on it. We are at the end of 5 decades of monetary corruption that has been used by the global elites to hoover up wealth whilst the ordinary person has struggled with the baggage of paying for the social policies to maintain a growing dependency culture. There is labor, and there is the capital, and if labor is not required by the few who hold most of the capital, there can be only one outcome: conflict. Capitalism can move and find better ways of working. Lower costs. Less government. No riots. Happy and productive workers can be found all over the USA. Parts of the US that are ready for new investment. With the internet, transport hubs to the world. Housing, education, roads, food, and good government. Less crime. Less taxes. No riots to factor in. No communism. All kinds of brands can have their own American Redoubt plan. Not just ordinary people will be on the move. Still, time to escape to freedom. Smart people are stocking up for winter, in anticipation of another wave of lockdowns and shortages. The lockdown has ripped through almost every country on the planet, causing devastating decay to the mental health of millions of people. The carnage from the lockdown, including suicides, homicides, domestic abuse, drug overdoses, destroyed businesses, destroyed families, and loss of respect for the country is far greater than the damage caused by this pandemic. The damage will never be quantified, apologized for, or reported in the mainstream media. Never. Government is the enemy of free people, and our government long ago grew madly like a malignant tumor on the back of our republic, consuming more and more of our earnings, land, etc. Total federal taxes in 2019 were $3.86 trillion, and it's still running trillion-dollar deficits. No true baseline cuts in spending have ever happened, and the way the system laws are set up they likely never will, and typically everybody wants to blame the president, but it's really not in any president's control. Any president that even threatens to temporarily shut down the government to try and force Congress to act on a budgetary measure is pilloried and demonized by the media. It's a complex problem full of corruption, greed, entitlement, etc. And probably the only way to reset it would be to shut down DC, and fire the entire federal government, and that would not even do much to stop them. Cut federal agencies in half and move many of them out of the DC and spread them around into American states. That would be a massive improvement. DC area is like the imperial capitals of Europe that were enriched by the empire. Resources squeezed out of the periphery subsidizing undeserved luxury. The US economy isn't built on the sheer global employment workforce, leaving the economy to crumble in even times of positive job enforcement. When something in government tumbles, the stock market crumbles, as the market is dependent on certain places like government more than production in manufactures. When wealth is increasingly concentrated in the hands of the very few, the many suffer. That leads to social unrest and oftentimes revolutions. If we want to avoid another French Revolution, we should probably do something about the wealth inequality in this country that would make 18th-century French nobles blush. Imagine an economy designed to meet the needs of people instead of corporations and their elitist flunkies. This was the Atlantis Report. Please like, share, leave me a comment, subscribe. And please take some time to subscribe to my backup channels. I do upload videos there too. You'll find the links in the description box. You will also find a PayPal link if you want to make a donation. Thank you wholeheartedly to all those of you who have donated. Stay safe and healthy, friends.